Bruh, this is like attempt 3 trying to record this video. First time, got 15 minutes in, realized my power source to my mic wasn't on. And then obviously popped that sucker on, went to record again, and OBS failed to initialize. So I was talking to myself for 30 minutes without actually recording anything. So we're going to try this again. My commentary might be a little bit weird because I've played through this effectively twice now, and I don't remember what I've already said in this video and what was previous videos. Anywho, between episodes, we picked up a new quest. After bolstering our empire through order and discipline, you receive reports that demons are assembling near Emberton, striking fear into your citizens' hearts. The fiendish infestation, demons who either killed or escaped their masters, are led by a gruesome nightmare. It's this flaming horse here. Apparently they're great leaders. Like diabolical moths, the infernal deviants are drawn to the gleaming light that hallows your empire, preying on the meek and weak-willed among your followers. Several pious citizens have reportedly been tempted, seduced, tricked, compromised, or simply slain by these godless guests. The Hellspawn cannot get away with their flagrant rampage. Won't you save your people and purge these devils, holy king? Of course, the profane invaders will be cleansed by my holy fire. So that'll give us a little bit of an order bonus as well as a mystery reward. Probably of our choosing, hopefully. So this is a quest that pops up every time you go down the order path. So I think you just need to reach like a certain level of order affinity, and this will trigger. Because I've dealt with this quest in several playthroughs now, and I believe the mystery bonus is a choice of either an item, some gold, or a resource, like it might be food or production or something. Anywho, yeah, we'll definitely do it. So quick recap of what's happened between episodes. I've advanced a couple of turns, nothing too interesting happening, just moving armies around. We did get another army up and running in this army here under Jonas the Strong. So here's Jonas here with his army of 3 defenders, a bannerman, and an archer. He's carrying a lance, as you can see, so he comes with that by default. The lance is very similar to the dwarven hammer that we picked up in a previous episode. It does a little bit less damage, as you can see, 24 versus 29. But they both confer the same charge strike ability, and the advantage of the lance is that it does not remove your ability to ride a mount. So I find that the lance is better in that regard, even though the lance is considered a tier 1 weapon and the hammer a tier 2. The fact that there's only about 5 points of difference in the damage, and this one lets you stay mounted, which means you have very fast movement, is or makes all the difference in my mind. So Jonas's army over here is going to continue to make their way west. I'll show you why in just a moment. And as they move west, we're going to try to pick up some XP by just smashing all these little mob armies around the map. Now, our scouts have made pretty good progress. As you can see, one of them reached the western edge of the map. And this is the perfect spot for a new city. We have coastline up here. A little bit of a river wrapping around there to help us defend this place. Mountains shielding one side, and of course the edge of the map shielding the other, so we can occupy this whole little area here and then expand down to the south until we run into Hartfield down there. It's going to be a bit before we can get anybody over there to build a town. Scouts can't do that, only heroes can. But still, look at all the resource nodes here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, that's a watchtower. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and an underground passage. So this is a nice little space. And like, can you imagine city right here, surrounded by these little mountains? Perfect spot. So what I'm thinking is, let me pan back out here. We have Emberton, obviously. Ederton should be ours pretty soon as well. This looks like it might be a nice spot for town number or city number 3. I'm just going to use town and city interchangeably. I don't know what the game calls it. But 1, 2, 3 I think is pretty good spacing there because Emberton is going to expand a bit to the west. excuse me, to the east, and then maybe a tiny bit to the west, but not too far down here. Ederton is going to grab up the rest of this and then go west this way. And so because of this giant thing of mountains here, we're probably going to need another city in this area if we want to claim any of this. And that's pretty good spacing too. We should be able to travel between those relatively quickly until we get fancy things like teleporters or whatever. But I don't like to rely on that. So yeah, I think that's pretty good spacing. Over here, Hartfield is another free city minor faction that we are working on incorporating. It's going to be a little bit further out than Ederton, but that's perfectly fine. That makes for a nice location for a 4th city, and then this I think would be a perfect location for number 5. Now, those aren't necessarily in chronological order. I'm just kind of going for the flow right to left from our capital. So since Jonas is right here, this is Jonas, I'm going to have him make his way through into this area, killing mobs as he goes, and seeing where the best place for the next city is. I'd really like to get one built because we obviously invested in a higher city cap with one of our perks, and it only benefits us if we're actually building cities. So we may as well take advantage of the fact that we can have 4. We'll, of course, leave a spot open for Ederton because that's going to proc pretty soon. But I see no reason to build number 2 right now. And so Jonas's primary task is going to be to get out here and do that. Once he's finished, we'll probably just continue marching him west to go deal with this, and we'll see what happens with Hartfield in the meantime. But that's kind of my grand strategy here. So zooming on back in, let's see here. We're able to cast Faithful Whispers. Faithful Whispers, as you may recall, gives us 30% faster allegiance gain with free cities. We've already cast this on Ederton. We're going to throw one on Hartfield now as well. Beautiful. And then we unlock some new Empire development skills. So let's take a look at that. Unfortunately, at the end of my playthrough last night, I hovered over these, which removed the exclamation points for the new ones, but just assume that the last one on every tree is new. So shock units, shield units, and polearm units gain experience 20% faster. I'm not super inclined to take anything that gives XP bonus unless it's for heroes. These types of units die frequently. Like if a unit's going to die in battle, it's probably going to be one of my shield units. Could be a shock unit, would be like a knight. They don't die as often, but still non-heroes do die pretty frequently. And so while, yeah, the experience bonus does get them kind of back into the middle ranks faster, I find that those types of units tend to just kind of live in the middle ranks all the time because of the turnover. So I don't see this as having a huge benefit either way. For 150 Imperium this early, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. Later on, when Imperium becomes a lot easier to come by, sure, why not? It'll get your units ranked up to the highest ranks faster then. And in that point in the game, it probably is a lot more beneficial because you don't have as much time to turn these armies over in the middle of wars and things like that. But all in all, I'm not super concerned about it. We have other perks that already boost our experience gain as part of our faction, so this just doesn't do a lot for me. This is a right that instantly gains 20 allegiance with every free city that we're currently sharing a Whisper Stone with. Not super necessary unless you are desperate to try to beat out another faction for a free city's allegiance. Right now, as far as we're aware, we're not competing with anyone, so I don't see any reason to rush it. Down in the nature tree, we have natural recovery, which gives our units an additional 15 hit points per turn in recovery, as long as we're in a friendly domain. Pretty good. For 100, I'm happy to take that. In general, I really like the nature affinity tree, especially for the early game. As I mentioned before, grabbing soil tenders as early as possible is one of the best ways to make your cities grow fast. Moving over here, I think we gain... No, right at the last stand we already had, so I don't think anything new was here. I might grab road building now just so I don't forget. It's for 75. Yeah, let's do it. Let's see. We could get another Whispering Stone. We did sort of encounter another free city. We actually technically have not encountered them yet. Heartfield, as you may remember, we met at the end of last episode. They are humans, but they're a different flavor of human. They're the Imperialists rather than the destined humans that we are. But humans nonetheless. They have a Whispering Stone, and we're currently gaining allegiance with them. But we also, through one of our scouts, I think it's the Warg actually, wandered past Goldspire, which is a free city of human paladins. So yet another flavor of human. But we haven't technically met them yet. The Warg didn't venture close enough. Actually, I might be able to remedy that right now. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So we don't have a Whispering Stone to give them. Doesn't look like they're interacting with anybody yet. But again, we haven't discovered a major faction to this point, so may or may not be true. Over here, I could spend 75 Imperium to do that. I'm a little bit against the idea, though, because very shortly... where's the Free Cities one? Is it this? No. Which one is it? I forget how to check up on our free cities. Well, easiest way to do it is just go to the city itself. If we click on Edgerton, you can see we are very nearly to flourishing vassalage. Once we get into that point, we will be able to annex them and we get this back. So I could get another Whispering Stone, but it might only be like 2 turns until our original one is returned to us, in which case I just spent Imperium for a Whispering Stone I didn't need. Therefore, I'll probably just be patient and see what happens. Our arcane research finished. We can now cast Condemnation. That is a tactical spell, by the way. So our choices are Signet of Knighthood. I've mentioned this one a few times, and this one is, I would argue, really, really critical to feudal playthroughs. Effectively, what this does is it turns all of your non-feudal units into feudal units. So, for example, this chaplain here, or any other unit that we acquired through arcane research, as well as things like the Warg that we just got through a random event. All of those units are not feudal, and so they do not gain benefits like stand together, which is important, right? If we have units in adjacency, they buff each other's damage by 20%. It's kind of a big deal. For feudal factions, you really want to be taking advantage of stuff like this. And obviously, as you start incorporating more advanced higher tier units from your arcane research, you start losing out on that feudal tag, and this is a way to kind of bring that synergy back. Right now, though, only the Warg is going to benefit, so we can wait and do that later. Instead, I think we'll go Hold the Line. That's a buff that's going to benefit, it looks like, everybody in 1 hex radius with Steadfast. I forget what Steadfast does. Cannot have fewer than 1 hit point. So does that make our units unkillable for like a turn? Maybe a couple turns? I'm actually genuinely curious how that works. Based on the way it's worded, it sounds like the unit is unkillable. It can go down to 1 hit point, but it can't actually be taken off the map. So yeah, that sounds pretty cool to me. We have a scout on over here. Let's get all the way to the edge of the map before progressing south. I kind of wish Heartfield was in this little nook right here. That's a beautiful place for a city. I want you to confirm the coastline up here. Yeah, that looks like beach all the way around, so it's not like there's like a little land bridge or anything to this territory. I may ask them to sail up north, though, and start exploring up here. We'll very likely find another major faction up there. And then back to our king, who is ready to kill some Dementors right here. This is not going to be a difficult battle, so we'll probably auto-resolve it. It looks like we gained discouraged attackers if we just attack outright. I can pay some gold to remove it, but this should be so one-sided it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's a safe battle, so we'll just auto-resolve it. Cool. Nobody lost, just a little bit of XP. Sorry, a little bit of HP. We gained some XP, though. Now that the corrupted souls are gone from our lands, the Destined Human Council contacts us again. Marvelous work, King Alfred. Just marvelous. We managed to contain any panic with regards to the corrupted soul sighting, so it seems we're in the clear. All thanks to you, of course. The Destined Humans will hear of your victory. Perhaps our superstitious beliefs can be transformed into a virtue of our people. Are you trying to say that their crazy superstitions are a good thing? Yeah, maybe not. Anywho, all of our cities, which, you know, all one of them, gain 20 stability for 6 turns, and then any free cities of Destined Humans, again, just the one, Ederton. The other free cities are different humans. They're not destined. Gain 150 relations to become swayed for 18 turns. So that's actually going to expedite the recruitment process even further. Then we have 3 options here. We can get some draft. We're not currently trying to recruit anything, so I mean, if we wanted a specific unit, we could knock them out in basically a turn with this, but because of our current upkeep, I'm a little bit disinclined to recruit another unit right now. We're taking a big hit by having the second hero because that puts us over the hero cap. You can see we're getting a -30 just from that. Alternatively, we could take 111 production in Emberton, which will instantly finish the levy camp. We were actually considering paying gold to expedite the levy camp, so this would be a nice alternative to that. I kind of got too cheap to do the gold, so this is actually a great alternative. Or we could take 53 Imperium, which is about a turn's worth, so honestly not a lot. If we're talking turns saved as kind of the consistent currency between all these, I think this saves us the most turns. Basically going from, I think, 3 more turns of levy camp building to effectively 0. So it saves us 3 turns, arguably. This would save us roughly the same if we were actually recruiting something, but we're not. And then this is about 1 turn. 1 turn's worth of Imperium. So based on turns, this makes the most sense. It's also the most closely in line with what I'm trying to do right now. So there we go. And our levy camp down here is now finished. We get a cool, unique little building for it. And so with the 1, 2, 3 adjacent farms, we're producing 35 food here. That's, of course, in addition to the 20 up there, the 20 down here, and the 10 right here. So getting our money's worth for sure. We can actually build 1 more adjacent farm here as well if we were so inclined. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. What's our production look like? Yeah, 141 food as opposed to 56 production, 33 draft. Obviously, it's a little bit mono-focused, but in the early game, I just wanted to gobble up as much territory as possible, and nothing boosts your population growth more than having just an overwhelming amount of food. Yeah, I'm very pleased with that. So I think that's going to be about it. We can move our king. The other quest is going to take us here, so I guess before we get too far, let's just backtrack and deal with it. Lo and behold, it turns out that little bonus we got at the end of last turn was enough to allow Ederton to be integrated. So it's a good thing we didn't waste any Imperium on that extra Whispering Stone, because we're already going to get it back. So we gain some benefits from advancing to the next tier of vassalage, but it's irrelevant because they're going to join our faction now. One thing I am concerned about is we'll be taking on another hero. So whenever you incorporate a free city, you gain their leader hero. you do not get all the units under them. So even though she has a party of 6, we'll just be getting her, alone. They have other armies floating around as well, but we will not have access to those either. We lose all the armies, we just get the one hero. And so that would give us 3 heroes. Having a second city should up our hero cap to 2 though. So I think it ends up being a wash and we won't go bankrupt, or at least we won't be in the negative in terms of upkeep. Or, sorry, not upkeep, but gold per turn. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. Let's just integrate them and see what happens. Okay, so it actually improved our upkeep. Or our gold per turn. That makes sense because we were getting 45% of their total gold, but now we get 100% of it. So, yeah. If you want, you can have these free cities continue to govern themselves, but I see no reason to do that. So right now it's set for balanced income, but if you want to change that, you can go in here and say, I want to do it manually. You can actually prioritize too, so you can say like, you know, you just built a new city, I want them to prioritize food so they grow faster. You can definitely do that. But, you know, when you have just a handful of cities, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't just do it manually. But the option is there if you ever want to play around with it. You can also change city names and, yeah, blah, blah, blah. You can move your throne if you are so inclined. You can actually, if you go, oh, you know what, maybe I didn't want to do that, you can re-release them too, rather than like save scumming. And you can just burn towns to the ground. It does affect your alignment though, so be aware of that. I guess while we're in here, I've never highlighted this before, but you can change any of these that you've already built on. You can actually do it from here too. If you go, oh, you know what, maybe I don't want that mine to be mine anymore, you can always change that. You can do it from this screen as well. And if you want a recap of everything you've built in that area, you can find it here. So it looks like they have 1 annexation available. Looking at their options, I'm actually kind of seeing some similarities to the southern part here, where we could do a levy camp up on the hill and then a farm and a farm and really max out their food. That's kind of the long play though. Short term, I could get a nice little production boost by grabbing this forest along with the iron deposit, or I could get 20 food right out of the gate by grabbing this pasture here. I might do that just because it's the most immediate benefit. Oh, they have a harbor already, so we can potentially build some coastal buildings too. Yeah, let's just grab this for right now. That'll help with the growth and then hopefully get us more more annexations more quickly. So let's see. What are our options here? Is anything boosted? Just the arcane battlements. Oh, and the vendor should give us plus 10 gold income. So the shipyard is unlocked by having the fishery, which they have off the coast there. This is kind of an interesting building chain. So it starts off with gold income, but then unlocks the fishmonger as the tier 2 building, which gives you food income. That in turn unlocks the Grand Wharf, which gives you production income. And then the Seafarers Guild, which is the final tier to that. Guild buildings, by the way, you can only have 1 per city. So each building chain, well, not each building chain, but many of the building chains, for example, vendor goes to market, goes to mint, goes to merchants guild. So many of these more general kind of initial buildings that you get access to, granary, same deal, estate, farmers guild, they end in a guild building, but you can only choose 1 guild building per city. So you kind of have to choose what your focus is going to be. Here, because we have a lot of coastline, I think it makes the most sense to go with the Seafarers Guild. The guild buildings are pretty powerful, as you can see with this one. We gain plus 3 draft, plus 3 gold, plus 3 food, and plus 3 production per fishery that we have in that city. Right now we only have 1. We need minimum 4 to build this building. But as you can see, based on the access to the coastline we have here, we could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fisheries, which would be plus 24 to all of those resources we just mentioned, which is absurd. Like, we have 2 major boosts going on at this farm here, and it's producing 20 food. That building alone would be producing more than that, and it would be doing the same for 3 other resource types. And that's not even considering all of the food that you're getting from all the individual fisheries, which is another plus 5. Here there was an oyster reef, so we're actually getting some gold too. So yeah, building synergies can be very, very powerful in this game, if you didn't already notice. We also got the hasteberries and fireforged stone. I mean, technically those are already ours because we vassalized them, but now they're officially ours. I don't know if I ever talked about magic materials previously, so we can discuss those really quickly. You don't really do anything with them. They're just kind of collectibles. They do have unique effects. So, for example, the fireforged stone, which is in Edgerton, it's this thing here. This guy. Because we annexed it in Edgerton, units will cost 20% less draft in Edgerton, so Edgerton is a good place for us to maybe start training troops. Additionally, the hasteberries will make founding, migrating, absorbing cities take -2 turns, and that's a global effect, so that benefits us across the board. This one is... Oh no, that's actually a global effect too. Oh, beautiful. Okay. I thought that was a local effect, but no. So each of those resources, the magic materials, have their own specific effect. But when you collect all within a set, so for example, the ore set here, there's 3. If you get all 3 of them, you gain a collection effect, which for the ores is rings of binding. You don't need to actually like produce the rings of binding. They're not like an item. It's just an effect that goes into place across your entire faction. In this case, all of our heroes would gain +1 defense, +1 magic resistance, and +10 bonus damage. So there's definitely good reason to go after these things. If you see them on the map, you should definitely consider like trying to absorb them however you can. If you need to like plop an outpost down on it, or did we talk about outposts yet? We have an outpost here. I built one when our king came down, so we can discuss that really quickly. Outposts are kind of like very light versions of cities. This is the extent to which you can build in them. You don't have a ton of options, clearly. But if you really want to grab a territory, you can do so with an outpost. Outposts are also what become full cities. So, you know, whether you're going to build a city there or not, you can throw down an outpost and decide later. But if you decide to keep something as an outpost, you have the option of building a work camp, which allows you to annex 1 additional province. So an outpost can hold up to 2 provinces. I think I mentioned that in an earlier episode. You can also build walls to basically turn outposts into like more of a siege defense type situation. Palisade walls is the first tier, and then you can also build stone walls as the second tier. And then you can also build a watchtower to expand the site radius. I'm going to start queuing that now, actually. And so, for example, if we saw, like, what are you guys? I don't know if it's going to tell me. Yeah, it's not going to tell me. But that, I believe, is another one of those resources. So if we really wanted to grab that, we could throw down an outpost right here and claim it. Or, you know, you could even put an outpost next to it and then use the work camp to grab that adjacent province. Actually, you know what? We were going to send Jonas to build a city down here somewhere. I actually really like that spot up on the mountain. And then you got the giant field out in front of it. Kind of reminds me of like Minas Tirith from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, that's a cool spot, actually. I might do that. Anywho. Actually, we need to move him. Let's go over here first. Yeah, we'll get that XP. Oh, or we'll just take the alignment, I suppose. I don't want to lose any knowledge. We obviously are doing fine on food, so yeah, we'll take the alignment. I wanted the XP, though. Whatever. We'll get him moving west again. You are going to move south. I'm going to do a little bit of manual scouting for the time being, just because I want to make sure we're exploring certain areas. We're going to send this group north to investigate the other continent. You are going to keep working toward that other quest objective and the warg, now that they've found Gold Spire. You know what? I wanted to explore the underground a little bit, and I never really got around to it. So let's send the warg to do that. Actually, before we do, though, since I won't be able to get it this turn anyways, I want to get that watchtower. Let's see. Over in Edgerton, we didn't really do anything yet, did we? Shoot. Build the vendor and then build the shipyard. Let's also choose a governor. I see no reason to not let Duchess Maurice continue governing here. And actually, wow, she gives a very substantial bonus. Why is that? Why is that so high? That is, like, absurd. I mean, I have no objections. I'm just kind of curious as to how that's functioning. Right. So our upkeep's still not good, which means I'll probably wait a little bit longer before giving her an army, just because I can't really afford one right now. But I'd like to get her an army. Let's adjust her appearance a little bit. Kind of digging the current look, but I want to see what is happening under the hood here. You got like a wicked scar on your forehead. I think if she's a duchess, I'd rather do something a little bit more regal looking. She doesn't need the same crown as the king. That looks a little bit too extra for a duchess. But yeah, maybe like the circlet. We can make it gold so she looks a little bit more official. I'm good with that. What are our other clothing options? So like scale armor, something kind of inquisitor looking. Obviously what she was wearing before. Like a ball gown. Okay, I mean these are kind of regal looking. And these are part of the, what's it called? The pre-order bonus. So I kind of like her existing look. That or this because she's a mage, but I think this is fine. And then if we wanted to choose a different cape, there are a few options. I kind of like without, to be honest. But that was fine too. Like, yeah, the cloaks aren't bad. Let's go with something like that. I'm gonna make her a little bit taller, maybe. I think right now, most of my humans are 4 arm length, 4 leg length. I mean, you can make people like quite small by adjusting the leg length. But I guess her previous size is fine. I don't want somebody like Hobbit looking necessarily. Duchess, Maurice, Lamplighter. Yeah, if you want to change names, pronouns, titles, you can do all that, of course. But we'll just leave it as is. Cool. She can't have a mount because of her weapon. But I suppose that's fine. We already dealt with that. We already dealt with that. We already dealt with that. We can clear all this. Our watchtower is finished, and so the sight radius at our outpost is now a little bit larger. So I think previously the fog of war was covering this road down here, and now we can see all that. We're going to go ahead and build palisade walls next. I don't see much reason to do the work camp because there's nothing on either side of this that I care too much to annex. We can't get out to the world tree or anything, so, you know, it would just be one of these two. I don't even know if we can do this, and then the fact that both of our cities could reach that means it's pointless anyways. When we build the other city down here, we may look at, like, you know, do we need to annex this because it's too hard to reach or something. But for now, we'll worry about it at a later time. Our king is ready to deal with this quest battle here. It's a low-risk battle, so auto-resolve probably be fine, but I want to get at least one manual combat in per episode just to keep things interesting. And given what we're up against, even though it says low risk, I would still not be surprised if we lost a unit. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we lost a unit manually either, but it might be more fun. So let's do that. Ooh, so this is a pretty open map. I generally prefer the more... Oh, the game crashed. Alright, so trying this again. As I was saying, I prefer the more claustrophobic maps where there's more choke points. Just because I like to try to plug the gaps with my defenders and let the bannermen and archers kind of pour damage over the top, and any knights or mounted heroes can kind of flank around the sides. As it is here, it's going to be kind of difficult to control the enemy, especially because they have, I mean, what amounts to a bunch of cavalry. All of these units have very fast movement type, I would wager. Maybe not the puppies, but the Inferno Hounds, certainly the Nightmares. I think the Lightbringers as well. These guys have a mind control ability, so you need to deal with them as quickly as possible, because they will turn your units against you, and obviously that's never a good thing. They are a little bit squishy, though, so we'll see if we can get them in like an alpha strike. But if we don't, game just crashed again. So if we don't get them in an alpha strike, things could get really ugly for us. So let's try to do that. I'm going to push out to... Since I know I need to be aggressive, I'm probably going to push out a little bit further. My worry is if I'm too aggressive, the enemy might slow play even harder. So I might go like one tile short of our max movement. Let's do something kind of like this. So Alfred, even though he's mounted and therefore has the very fast movement thingy, can I get you guys, please? He doesn't have the same charge attack that the knights do, so he's kind of in a weird middle zone where he might be better kind of standing and fighting like the defenders, but he can move like the cavalry. So I'm going to use him as like a frontline unit and use my knights as the flanking force, just because they benefit more from like a hit and run style of combat. So let's do something like that, and then you guys can throw a bulwark on us. That's going to bolster resistance, which means we might be able to dodge a mind control, but I'd rather just prevent them from casting it outright. I believe there's a range on it, so I don't think they can hit me with it from back there, but we'll see. Actually, we should probably read up more on it. 60% base chance, so we hopefully lowered that chance. It has to be a non-hero, and if it's unsuccessful, they're weakened instead. Cooldown is 3 turns, so they can actually cast that multiple times per battle. Yikes. And it always hits too, so yeah, you're always going to get one of those two effects. It's just a matter of which one. That sucks. What's interesting is, so you can actually get Lightbringers. They're part of, I think, the Zealous research tomes. I think it might be, well, based on the unit tier, it's probably the tier 2 one. It's kind of odd that they are with a bunch of demonic units, because they're completely the opposite. They're actually part of like the spirit light tree. Yeah, strange. Okay, so they did move forward. We can do a pretty substantial damage there, and I think we're gonna have to. Let's see. It's probably worth just engaging across the board. The nightmares hit really hard, especially if they can flank you. So even though we are technically losing this exchange, just pinning them in place is probably worth it. Oh, it's unfortunate that we can't get to the Scald, though. Or maybe we can. Yeah, I think we can get in there. Can you reach them? You can. Perfect. The thing is, even if we don't attack the Scald, getting in here should pin them, and then we could attack the Nightmare in the flank. So I think that's what we'll do. Let's start here. Get a heavy charge on that unit. If I can get them off the map this turn, it's going to be worth it, regardless of what it costs me. If they mind control somebody, this battle might be over before it even really properly gets underway. Let's see. Yeah, let's start chipping away at the Nightmare, I guess. My hope is to get that unit off the map, and then you can turn and help with this one or something. You are going to run up to here. And doesn't really matter which one you attack. Actually, hold on a minute. We have Fire Breath. What can that do? Ooh, that can actually hit the Lightbringer as well. It's actually going to hit 4 of their units. I mean, obviously that makes way more sense. Let's do that. Beautiful. Okay. The Bannermen, I think we're going to want to put them here. Or potentially there, either one. Let's see. The archers will have a better shot on everybody from there. So I think it makes the most sense to go like this. And then the question is... So you cannot get the kill. You cannot get the kill. Can we get it with a spell? It's only going to do 6. Condemnation will do 9. 15 there. But the Lightbringer, again, is going to be the most important one. So I think we'll have the archer shoot. And then we'll use Condemnation to finish it off. Or, hold on. Let's see what our options are. 20, 12, 16. So you can do pretty good damage to these units. And it looks like you'll do more damage than if we cast this spell on one of them. So I think it makes the most sense to use the spell to kill over there. So no more mind control, and then you can drop a 20 bomb on that guy. Okay. So the Scald is going to eat an attack of opportunity to get out of melee range. They just buffed their units. The Nightmare just took an attack of opportunity to flank us. That's a bit unfortunate because our Bannermen are tied up now. That's okay, though. We should be able to get them out of there. Ouch. I mean, again, the defenders are there to eat damage, and that's what they're doing. That's a kill. That's almost a kill. Let's wait to commit the archer's damage. They're obviously going to do a lot to whoever they attack. So, depending, like... The Nightmare, in my mind, is the priority just because they hit the hardest. But if we can't kill them this turn through a combination of attacks, then it makes more sense to kill something else. You can do 33 right there, or 36 right there. I think that plus the archer gets them off the map. You can almost get a kill there, or you can mess with them. Let's see. Well, you don't have any choice, so attack there first. Perfect. We can use a spell to finish them off, potentially, but let's wait to decide that. You could also attack there, or you can do 21 here. That's a pretty substantial chunk of their health, so let's go ahead and do that. And then the Bannerman probably shouldn't move yet. I care more about the Nightmare than the pups, so I'm going to go after the Nightmare. And I don't know if that canceled their retaliation. I don't know that it did. But that's okay. You're going to have to just eat some damage to get out of there. And then you can turn around and shoot something. It's pretty good. 16 might guarantee a kill there. But the archers can get it without any help. Ooh, but 50%. That's risky. There's a good chance we won't get all 33 of that damage. So instead, what I'm going to do is shoot over here and kill that unit. You guys can then do some damage over here. And you missed all of them. Fantastic. I don't think Condemnation is going to do enough. Yeah, unfortunately. Is it worth getting the kill there and just letting them do whatever they want for another turn? I think potentially yes. They're mostly like a buff debuff type unit, so I don't think they're going to be able to hit us very hard with anything. And getting rid of units for them to like potentially heal makes more sense than, you know, trying to limit their ability to attack. And so let's see. That's going to do 10. I think Condemnation hits them harder for 15. We're not going to get them off the map this turn, but potentially if they try to move, the attack of opportunity could kill them. And the game crashed again. I don't know why it's having such a hard time with this battle. Okay, so fortunately the game does auto-save at points during the battle. But we are going to have to, it looks like, replay most of that last turn. So I'm going to try to remember what I did here. I think you guys attacked there to start. And then this unit's going to attack directly ahead of them. If you have a hard time with like turn-based tactical combat, I suggest always start with the units that have the least options, if that makes any sense. So like, for example, this unit, they don't have any buffs. All they can do is attack. And there was only one unit in front of them. So they only have one option of what to do this turn. So that's a great place to start. You want to keep your options open with the units that have the ability to do the most things. Because, you know, obviously going one place might get me a kill versus going another place might not, etc., etc. So you want to keep those options open. And always start with the units that, again, don't really have a lot of choices. And that should kind of help guide you into sort of the most optimal series of choices for that particular turn. So we'll get the flank damage here again. The Bannermen are going to eat an attack to step out of range. I'm going to see if I can get maybe a little bit more damage out this turn I mean, there's nowhere I can put them where it's going to be better than 50%. But I'm willing to bet if I move them to the same spot, they're going to miss again. So by going to a different spot, maybe I can fool the game into re-rolling that in my favor. It's possible that it doesn't work, but, you know, we'll see. You know, alternatively, I could make them target somebody else. Could go here. Since they missed on the nightmare anyways, I'm not technically losing anything from last turn, or last time I tried this. You can get the kill, but again, it's 50%, so they may not get all 33 damage. Versus, I can guarantee a kill in some of these other spots. Let's see. You can still go. Who can I finish off with this? So either one of these two. I'm going to go here. And the reason I chose to do that is because... Oh, shoot. That's fine. That's fine. If I move the knights here, they're now in adjacency with that unit, but I can still kill this unit. So that makes it a little bit harder for them to do their thing. And then the archers can shoot here. We may get the kill, we may not. We won't in this case. Wow. That was pathetic. But anyways, we did some damage, and this unit, the king, is flanking. So if they move, we're going to get an attack of opportunity that might kill them. And the game didn't crash that time. Oh, you didn't get an attack of opportunity, though, because they weren't facing them. But they did have to move in order to... Oh, you literally fumbled your attack. Beautiful. Whatever, they didn't do a whole lot. How did we get mind control? Do you have mind control? So they had 2 units with mind control. This is really annoying. We actually can't do that much damage to them. Let's have you finish off that unit. And then it's just a matter of focus firing the Scald. There we go. Let's see. Oh, maybe they're like Berserk or something. Because they're not red. It's not showing any, like, effects on them. That's kind of strange. No attack of opportunity. So yeah, I missed what happened to that unit. They might just be like Berserk or something. It's a little bit annoying, but can't really be helped. Okay, I don't think we're going to get them this turn. But if we stack... Oh, yeah, no, we'll be able to get them this turn. Because I can still cast Condemnation on them. There we go. Cool. So we got out of that one without losing anybody, though. It got a little bit hairy there for a second. Cool. Oh, and King leveled up. Right, so the aftermath. With the impious demons vanquished, divine order is restored in our realm. Scouts report that what the fiends stockpiled in their nest. The unholy invaders had raided the surrounding lands for several days. Bloodstained treasures piled high on the nest's edges. Perched atop the highest heap, a wand of lightning strike is found, riddled with claw marks. Dozens of dead animals were dragged into the center of the rally point. Some of the slain cattle is partially devoured, but most fresh carcasses remain untouched. From Emberton, inquisitive citizens prepare to pilfer the abandoned hoard. You must declare what is yours and what is theirs to collect. So... in general, we gain an order boon, which just temporarily increases city stability. Doesn't say to what degree. This is saying plus 13 in both cities, so I don't know if that's stacking or if this second one is the order boon it's referring to. Anyway, doesn't really matter. We get some generic bonus, and then we get to choose 316 gold or 483 food or the wand of lightning strike, which is just a tier 2 wand that deals linear damage. I think I'm going to take the gold. We're obviously doing pretty good on food, so the gold is going to benefit me more immediately, I think. So ruler leveled up. We get to choose our first signature skill. Let's see. Probably going to stick with the things we have affinity for. Vision of Woe. Enemy units in a 1 hex radius fumble their attacks for 1 turn. I don't remember if fumble like guarantees a miss. Oh, it reduces damage by 50%. Okay. So it lowers all incoming damage by 50% essentially for 1 turn. Reckless Rage goes into like a berserk mode, it looks like. So plus 30% melee attack damage for 3 turns. But it applies sundered defense and sundered resistance. So it sounds like you're trading offense for defense, or defense for offense here, which might not be such a good thing. I'm generally not a fan of abilities like this where you're compromising one thing to get a bonus in something else. I'd rather just keep my survivability and trade shots. I tend to play a little bit more like defensive though. Warding Bond. Let's see. Damage sustained by target friendly unit is transferred to this unit with a 20% reduction. Can't be used in enemy zone of control though, which would be a problem for him because, you know, he is a frontline fighter effectively. But that is kind of a cool idea. We can build him into a super tanky unit, and then if anybody's getting beat up on, we can siphon the damage over to him at a slight reduction. So, kind of a cool idea. Mass Rejuvenation. Friendly units in a 2 hex radius gain 10 temporary hit points and regen. 10 temporary hit points is not a lot, let me tell you. But the regen over time could be good. However, most units are getting attacked on a regular basis, and so the regen rarely offsets the incoming damage. Not terrible, though. Restoration heals target friendly units for plus 40 temporary hit points and dispels negative status effects. Target friendly unit that is dead can be revived with 60% of its total hit points. In my mind, that's the best choice. It is a single target heal, but 40 temporary hit points is a hell of a lot more than 10. And then removing negative status effects can be quite beneficial as well. I don't know if that applies to things like mind control, though. This is also a once per battle thing, too. We can't use it multiple times. The revive is also cool. That got my attention more than anything else. And then for the dark option, we have a draining blade that deals damage to target enemies and heals you the same amount as the damage it deals. So it's basically a draining blade. Yeah, life-stealing sword. That one's cool and would be pretty well suited to kind of the way he fights. But again, I don't want to get into dark alignment, because whatever we choose here is going to affect his affinity. So restoration will keep us in line with order, and I guess it'll make him a little bit more of like a paladin type of character. So he's going to be up to 3 affinity. By the way, those are randomly chosen. So the 6 choices you get for each one of these is going to be different for every character. You'll see a lot of overlap. There's only so many of the abilities, but there are other abilities that you may have gotten to choose from during that selection there. Let's see. Do I have access to endurance training yet? I do. So that will give all of the units in this army plus 15 hit points and plus 2 status resistance. That should include our friend here, though it apparently did not. So I don't know if it's all non-hero units then. Kind of would seem that way, but in any case, it's going to make our other guys tankier. Right. So not a whole lot for you to do over here. So let's start marching west with you as well. Going to grab the watchtower here. and then move him to the underground passage, where we will enter. And we'll do some exploring down there in subsequent turns. Get another annexation choice in Emberton. And kind of want to start pushing out over here. So let's do... This is going to give us the most site radius, so I'm going to do this. And it looks like that is the coastline, so we don't need to go too much further this direction, actually. But we will want to make it all the way to the coast, and then maybe potentially some of the coast. That's a coral reef, so that will give us plus 10 gold if we annex it. Something we may want to do. We also finished our market production over here, so I think next up is going to be... Ooh, the Citadel's only 5 turns now. That's tempting. I have the gold to do it as well. We should start on our wizard tower soon, though. We have some boosted things up here too, but the boosts don't go away, so it's not like they're time sensitive. You can take advantage of them whenever you like. Getting to tier 3 is kind of attractive right now. It will let us start producing knights. Yeah, I think that's the way I want to go. The only other thing I'm worried about right now is like gold, and actually we're doing pretty well after the things we just built. So what are our other options? Circle of Zealotry. Plus 10 drafts per positive or negative level of alignment. Plus 2 city stability per adjacent province improvement. So that is irrelevant of type. So it could be a farm, it could be a quarry, it could be a forest, doesn't really matter. This building counts as a quarry for similar effects, but it doesn't actually matter for the bonus. That's interesting though. So it's just based on level of alignment. So the more good we are, I think it's counting 25. So does that mean plus 10 draft per positive level? That would be a lot. That would be 250 draft. I'll have to see if that's actually the case. Let's worry about the Citadel for now, though. So we can cast a spell. I think I'll throw it on... Oh, it looks like we have to still queue it up. But our King's Army could use a heal, probably. I also should probably cast Staves of Mending at some point. That's going to grant Faithful, which will reduce upkeep on our units. It's a little bit misleading, though, because it actually is going to cost us mana to upkeep this spell. So we're basically trading gold upkeep for mana upkeep, which can be good, but maybe not necessarily always beneficial. Blah, blah, blah. Depends on its unit tier. So unit upkeep is reduced by 10%. It's actually not a lot. For a defender, I think the upkeep is 12, which means it would be reduced by 1.2. So depending on how the game does rounding, it might only make a 1 gold difference for that unit. Could be less than a gold for other units. And so, you know, given that we only have 2 armies right now, we're probably talking less than 10 gold in total. Oh, and this only affects support units. Oh no, it only affects these particular 2 units because they're not currently... Or maybe it's just talking about the Mending Touch ability. I'm honestly not sure. In any case, we'll throw a heal next turn. So we just finished our, what do you call it? Whatever the precursor building to this was. It was like a wharf or something. The coastal related buildings. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time remembering what it was called. Anyway, we finished it, and so other kind of unique byproduct of that building tier is it actually unlocks warships. So there are naval combat units as opposed to just having your regular armies fighting on the water, right? Which we saw, I think, in a previous episode. So these will have, I think, abilities that are more conducive to naval warfare. It kind of looks like this one is just a cheap version of a knight. Charge strike for 24 damage. It's pretty similar to what a knight would do. But yeah, so you can have like naval specific armies, which might actually be something we need to look at for this campaign, because there is potentially going to be a lot of ocean. Obviously up north here it's a very small body of water. It's basically a large river, but out to the east it does open up and it might be a large ocean or sea. Okay, so it looks like Jonas the Strong has a quest for us. He approaches with a solemn determination. These are the fragments of the storm orb, he says, showing you a bundle of carefully wrapped weapon shards. Long ago, it inspired fear in the enemies of the destined humans. Its keepers have long searched for a way to imbue it with life, new life, but never have we found the mythical focus crystals it is made of. So he asks our help in seeking these focus crystals required to reforge the weapon. So we'll do this quest. A storm orb is not really anything special. It's a magic orb that lets you shoot magic bolts. But yeah, I mean, you can get similar weapons starting out of the gate. So it's really not anything I would typically go out of my way for, but there's other bonuses to completing this quest. So I'm doing this more so for those than I am for the item reward itself, the mystery bonus, effectively. Also, just generally, you know, going and fighting things for XP is, you know, kind of always on my radar. It's a little unfortunate that it wants me to backtrack, though. I might just ask him to do it since he's already over here. So Hold the Line is finished. We get to choose a new one, and ooh. Both of these are good. So Legion of Zeal is another unit enchantment. This one is going to apply to all of the units that we currently are fielding. And it gives them Zeal, which means that all of their attacks now also do extra spirit damage. So we would have slaughtered that Nightmare army earlier because they were weak to spirit. This now applies spirit to all of our attacks, or at least all of our melee attacks. There is another spell that applies it to physical ranged, but this one is melee specific. Still, I think that's worth doing. Inspiring Chant is a buff, so we gain morale and become strengthened, which does plus 10 damage. These unit enchantments you apply on the overland map, and they stay in effect throughout the entire campaign, so long as you maintain the mana upkeep. So these are like also buffs, but they're long-lasting, basically permanent buffs, versus this is a temporary buff. So I like things that are permanent. Let's throw that army heal on where did you go? On you. Should be back to full health effectively. Yeah. Outpost is done with the palisade. I'm gonna save my money and not worry about the stone walls just yet. As far as the work camp is concerned, again, I don't see a benefit in doing it just yet, so we'll probably ignore that. Can annex another province over here. Do I want to start pushing this way or that way? Let's take this hill and we'll start working on the levy camp thing I discussed earlier. Let's see, the market will be done, and if we want next turn we can start working on that. Of course, it's not going to have quite the same effect until we have the adjacent farms, but even still, a levy camp is going to produce more food than a farm by itself. Although in this case only 5 more, because our farms are boosted by the nature affinity. So we have some spiders that would rather flee than fight. And so, though I am loath to give up the XP, I'm not willing to take on any evil alignment. So we're just going to keep taking the positive alignment. And it looks like we got a gold stash instead. So I guess that was ultimately worth it. So it looks like there's another body of water to the south. It's unclear if it's kind of just this corner of the map or, well, I guess I see trees, so it's definitely not coming out this way. Yeah, it's more of like a lake almost. We'll just kind of circumvent it rather than trying to sail through. We're more likely to run into other factions that way. So, let's see. Down here with Jonas, I think we're going to fight this safe battle first. We'll just auto-resolve that. I was hoping he might level up. And then we'll go ahead and backtrack. But yeah, I was hoping he'd be level 2 before we went into this fight. Though, oh, this is even easier than potentially the other fight was. So not a big deal, but just maxing out XP. Let's see what's over here. Oh, a game crash. Big surprise. So upon ending the turn, it looks like we got a... I don't know if this is replacing the other quest that we received from Jonas, or if this is in addition to. But Maurice has offered us a quest as well. She kneels before us distressed and says, "My little brother, he went dowsing for precious stones and never returned. He migrated to Emberton when you recruited me. He's been prospecting for his precious stones and metals since he was a wee boy, carrying around an oversized dowsing rod. Recently, a faraway gold vein caught his attention. Normally, my brother returns with a sizable haul within 3 days. Today is his 8th day since he left." Her eyes turn misty. "Will you help me find my brother, my king? I worry for his safety. Let me mark the gold vein on your map." So, of course, we'll do this. We get a monetary reward and also potentially something else. So, yeah, we'll do it. And, yeah, it does look like this is in place of the other quest, which was initially over here. So, very quickly, we'll auto-resolve this again. Yeah, didn't lose anybody. Perfect. I'm going to double back to get this in sight just to make sure that... No, I mean, nothing's there. It should have the little goblet bouncing up and down if that were the case. We'll choose our research again. Fortunately, Legion of Zeal is still an option, so we'll grab that. Up here, we'll once again annex the hill and then queue up production of the levy camp upon it. Army heal went out over there. This is done. You need to wipe these guys out. Looks like we're actually going to get a fight this time, which is fine. The alignment's not anything significant, so auto combat there. We'll get some XP. Looks like we got the gold either way. I think they were standing on top of a treasure stash. This is what crashed my game last time, so let's quick save. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and see what's out here. Ah, orcs, that's what's out here. Well met, King Alfred Elderstone. I am Warlord Gorlak Warbringer. Prove your strength to me, and we may yet conquer this realm together. So he is already a little bit evil aligned. They have 7 chaos affinity, 1 nature, and 1 materium. I'm not going to give him a welcome gift but I'm not going to antagonize him either. He's a demonic warlord. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we're obviously very much opposed, so there's no reason to try to get on his good side, but I'm also not necessarily going to start welcoming a war just yet either. Military ranking, he is second. So he is quite strong. We can look at rankings here. Sorry, here. Overall, I am currently 4th. Militarily, I'm apparently last. That's a little concerning. I mean, that's fine. Now that I have more upkeep, I can train another army under our 3rd hero. And if we can start founding more cities, I can afford even more. Let's see. In terms of expansion, I'm actually 1st. So I'm genuinely curious how he's affording such a large force if I'm pretty strapped for cash and I've expanded the most. I don't know what the metric is for expansion, though. One would assume it's like outposts and cities, and I don't necessarily have a lot of those. Magic ranking, I am 6th, but that's kind of to be expected. I don't really focus on magic. And then economically, I'm 3rd. So the disparity here might not be as much as I think, because obviously it's not hurting us very much if we're 4th overall. We didn't lead any other category except for this one. So, you know, we might be 9th, but it could be a difference of like 1 unit in some of these cases. Anywho, now that you've grabbed that, let's try to find where they're actually set up. I think we'll start training you in army. We'll start with a defender or 2. We'll focus on getting the defenders built there because we can only create knights down here, or at least we'll be able to in 3 turns. Actually, should we do a defender here as well? Sure, why not? She can chill. The warg is poking around in the underground still. That was a dead end, so we're working our way back up north. And you are going to step onto here. This gives us a little bit more sight radius. Again, not a whole lot in regard to this water, but as far as we can tell from the fog of war, there are trees out there. So the body of water is not that big. That's going to be it for this turn and for this episode. We'll leave it here, and I'm going to continue to advance turns so long as nothing big happens, and we'll pick back up at the next major event. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I had a great time playing some Age of Wonders with you, and I look forward to seeing you guys back here for the next one.